So I've talked in previous videos about positional play, about aiming for a zone. So that's what we're going to look at in detail in this particular video. Now, what do we mean by a zone? If you're talking about position with a cue ball, you might think to yourself, I want to put the cue ball here. But in reality, trying to put the cue ball on a precise spot, it's quite difficult, and you're likely to not be successful in that. So by aiming for a zone, we can talk about an area where we know that if we are in that area, we can still pot the ball. And position play is all about weighing up your chances. So you want to give yourself the best chance possible to be able to pot that ball. So what is a zone? So let's take, for example, if we were trying to pot this ball here and we wanted to pot it into this pocket. If we were coming from this side, if we wanted our white to be there, we might say that the zone we need to be in is anywhere between there and there, between those balls. And that would be a zone that we wanted to get into. So if in this example we had ball in hand, and we can place it anywhere, we want to play for that zone, then we could place the ball here and we could come off that cushion and into that zone. And we are in that zone to pot that ball. But as you'll see, we're actually very close to the edge of that zone. And we could quite easily, if we played that shot a little too hard or a little too soft, could quite easily end up behind that yellow and not able to make that pot. And the reason for that is that that zone is not a very big zone. And quite often, there's more than one zone that you can go for. So we looked at that and looked at this zone over here, but at the same time, we could also come from this side, and that gives us a zone to this side of the yellow, all the way over to the edge of the table. And you can see that that zone is maybe 3 times bigger than this zone over here. So the chances of landing in this zone, as compared to that zone, are much higher. So naturally, we want to take the option that gives us the biggest chance of landing in that zone and gives us the best odds of success. So if we did this in exactly the same way and played from here, we could play this a lot firmer. And we can go across and we can come into the zone. We're just on the edge of it there. We could play it firmer still. And we're somewhere in the middle of the zone. And we could play it a lot harder. And bounce off this cushion and we're still in that zone. Okay, it's not as great a line, but we're still in that zone. So you can see how much more range you've got in terms of position. But there's something else to consider as well. And that is how we come into that zone. So if you look at that zone as a big sort of triangle, by positioning our white ball over here, we were traveling across that zone. So we've got a big long triangle this way, and we were taking a route that was taking us across it, which is actually a far shorter distance, especially as you get closer to the ball. So not only do we need to pick the larger zone, but we need to think about how we approach into that zone. So by placing the ball over here, we were going across the table. If we had ball in hand and we come from this direction, then we can pot the ball and go into this cushion, and then we're traveling into the zone, into the length and the larger area of the zone. That means that we can then be anywhere along this length of the zone and still have the pot. So it gives us even greater chances of success. So if we come from this side, if we play it fairly gently, we're in the zone. It's a long pot, but we're still well within it. We play it a bit harder. we're still travelling up towards the ball, and we've got so much more room to move into, and therefore a lot more chances of success. So there's two things to remember there. It's choosing the biggest possible zone and your route into that zone, and keeping the distance that the ball can be in as large as you possibly can. So this is another situation where we're on the red balls, got a nice easy pot here on the first one, and then we need to get onto this one to pot it to the middle. It only really goes to the middle. We don't want to be trying to get in behind it for back across that way or that way. So there's only really one place it goes. So in terms of zones, there's only really one zone to choose from here, which is this sort of triangle from the ball to there, which is blocked by the two yellows to the side. You could potentially still pot it if you ended up this side, but we want to be aiming for here if possible. Now, you might simply think, okay, well, we'll just screw back a bit and into this zone. So if we screw back from there, and we're nicely on the ball. Fairly simple, but I've had to be quite accurate with the pace there. It'd be very easy to play that shot. I think we're a bit further here. To play that shot and either overscrew it. Okay, we got the contact with the yellow there. Could have easily have gone behind it, or to underscrew it and end up this side and blocked. And that's because we are playing across a triangle. So because we're playing across the triangle, that distance across that zone is quite short, which means we need to be accurate with our pace. Now, yes, we can do it. As you saw on the first time there, I did that quite easily. But the better and safer option, which gives us more chance, is to play into that zone. So the zone is longer this way. So if we play down off the cushion and back into this zone, then as soon as we're over here, we're in the zone, we're staying in the zone, we're staying in the zone, and we're in the zone for a lot longer. So if I just play the shot plain ball, we're in the zone there. If I played with a little bit of left-hand side, traveling a little bit further into the zone, and we're always in that zone from almost the moment we've left it. And therefore, we're giving ourselves much more chance of ending up if we over or under hit the shot. Even if I hit it quite a lot harder, we're still in the zone because we're traveling towards the ball all the time. So again, it's just increasing those odds as compared to this, where I've got 10 inches, I've probably got 3 times that distance, which gives me that room for maneuver on the pace. So it's about looking at that zone and working out the direction into that zone. There's always different ways to get into positions, but you need to try and choose the route that gives you the best chance of being successful. So in this final example, we're on the red and we need to get onto the black. Now this looks like a fairly obvious thing to do. We can just screw back an inch and be on the black to that corner, or roll forward an inch, be on it to that corner. So let's try just sort of stunning it a bit there. And okay, we're on it, but we're not quite straight and we've got to adjust slightly. And when we're that close to the ball, if we were even closer, that can be quite difficult. And again, this is because we're playing across the short part of a zone. So really, in terms of zone, we can pot to either of these pockets up here. We can be anywhere in this half of the table, which comes to a point here, and we're trying to control the ball at that point. As soon as we're further back, we can be in a far bigger area. But before we looked at moving into the zone, In this case, we'd actually be moving away in the zone. And there's no need to be afraid of that. Just because we're close to the ball doesn't mean we need to stay close to it. And it's actually easier in this case to just roll away from the black slate and give us an easier chance of potting it. So we're just off straight on this shot. So we could stun back a little bit to take us up to this corner. So if we play just below centre, we're moving away from the black. And now, even though we're slightly off straight, it's much easier to adjust than when we were 2 inches away. Or we could do the opposite. And because we're just off straight again, we could just play plain ball and roll away that way and on the black up here. And again, because we've moved further away from the ball, it's much easier to adjust and get the pot. And all the time we're moving away, we're still in line with the shot either that way or this way, but we've got far more room for error. If we're here and we end up a little bit far that way or a little bit far that way, it's incredibly difficult to make those adjustments. So don't be afraid to move in the opposite direction of the zone as well, particularly when you're close to the next ball that you're going to be hitting. It doesn't always have to be into the zone. It's about moving through a zone in a direction that gives you the most chance of success in terms of position.
If you want to see more practice routines and pool tutorials, then please remember to subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the equipment I use in this video, then there are links in the description below.